Hello everyone, welcome to episode 22 of the Drunken Boxing Podcast. I can't believe that I have already released 22 episodes of this podcast. Time has really flown, but I must say I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to all my guests so far, and I hope you all have enjoyed listening to these conversations as well. Alright, let's get into some general news. On the Mushin Martial Culture YouTube channel, I have released a 5th Baguazhang 10-minute primer video, which further introduces foundational basic skills, including the basic stepping method. So head on over and check it out. I also released the final episode of the 1993 historic Baguazhang gathering that occurred in Beijing. I hope to start a new interesting project soon, so keep your eyes open. Also, after many requests for some Mushin merchandise, I decided to design a couple of items. The underlying idea is to have something that presents aspects of the martial culture authentically, while at the same time being aesthetically pleasing and somewhat hip with today's times. I want to create things that you would be proud and happy to wear in public. So far, I have created 2 different t-shirts. The first one is an ode to taijiquan, and particularly its famed master Guo Yunshen's half-step bengquan technique. So the shirt features an image of this technique, along with the famous phrase, Banbu bengquan da tianxia, which means undefeatable crushing fist. The second item is an ode to the great master Sun Lutang. I was inspired by Warhol's modern art and created something based on that. There is both a t-shirt and a poster available of that design. In both cases, I have tried to make the designs both eye-catching and meaningful. So go on over and have a look. The links are in the show notes. Also, support for the podcast is highly appreciated, which you may pledge through the Mushin Martial Culture Patreon site. Apart from the general support tiers, there is a third tier, the Huajin tier, which is the online learning tier. Here, you have the ability to study the arts of Xingyiquan and Baguazhang from me. The current library of lesson videos is already substantial and continually growing, and there are other benefits included to assist you to develop and grow in the practice in an extremely productive manner. If you like what you have seen from my primer videos, you will truly enjoy the learning program's deep content. The Patreon site may be found at patreon.com/Mushin Martial Culture. That's all one word, Mushin Martial Culture. Again, the links are in the show notes. Let's get into today's episode. My guest today is none other than Mario Napoli. I heard about Mario many years ago. He rose to fame due to the fact that he was the first and the last non-Chinese to enter the Chen Village Push Hands Championships and win. After he did this, aspects of participation were changed permanently to avoid such things from happening again in such a manner. He truly did shock everyone with what he did there, and he has always been an advocate of the practical aspects of taijiquan training. He has also not been scared to voice those opinions, whether in person or online over the years, and he has had to back up his opinions physically on more than one occasion, which he did successfully. That competition in the Chen Village was in the year 2000. Mario's study of the art of taijiquan was through his teacher, Stanley Israel, who was a highly respected judo teacher in New York in the mid-20th century, and his skill in the art was well known. However, Stan met the famed Zheng Manqing or Chen Manching, who was a highly acclaimed pioneer in the USA who taught taijiquan in New York. Stan was instantly impressed with his skill and started his study of taijiquan under him. It was from this solid base that Mario began his study in the art, which took him to achieve what he did. Incidentally, Sam Message released a series of Taiji documentary episodes called Taiji People, which he filmed in the early 2000s, but he only made them publicly available in the last year. The first episode of this series features Mario, and it is a great episode. The link to the episode is in the show notes. I enjoyed this conversation with Mario a lot, as he recounted his path as well as his ideas on the practice. So, let's get right into it. I give you Mario Napoli. All right, welcome to the Drunken Boxing Podcast, Mario Napoli. I'm really happy we finally got around to doing this. We've talked about it for a while, so I'm glad we got around, and thanks for your time. Welcome.
Glad to be here. Hope it works out and we'll all have a little fun.
Yeah, that's the point of all of these. Usually I do these in person, of course. I would have liked to have done this in person sometime in New York with you, but with with coronavirus and all of that, we just resort to voice.
In person never
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
The way it's.
Well, at least we could have had a beer together if that's your kind of thing. So yeah.
Boy, I go for beer, a glass of wine. I mean, I had a long day today, and I'm exhausted. I can't even see anymore.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's not.
All right, good. Well, I've of course a lot of the people that have been involved in the Chinese martial arts and particularly Taiji, for a longer period of time are familiar with you. But some people obviously wouldn't know a bit about your background, etc. So maybe you can give a brief introduction to yourself and your background.
Well, background. I mean, I started this. Well, I did karate for a long time, but then I think I started Taiji in the mid 80s, I think, early to mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't count those because when I met my teacher, I believe I met my teacher at 88.
Right.
And that's when I count my Taiji training because everything, when I met him, kind of fit into place from day one. And then it took him about 2, 3 years, I think, to get rid of all the garbage that I had in my head
Right.
of Taiji as this philosophical or as this magical and no strength, no force, or, no muscle, whatever, all this stuff that goes around.
No human
So
being.
it took him about 2 years to get rid of all that junk. Even though I understood him for day one, all the belief system or what I took to understand, they kept coming up. And I remember once we were having a conversation, and he says to me, Mario, I go, yes, Stan, what's up? And he goes, why are you so confused?
Now,
And I looked at
who is this teacher? Because you haven't mentioned who he is.
Yeah, well, he's not well known, I don't think. I mean, he's known by people who know him, and he's definitely well known in the judo community, especially in those years. His name was Stanley Israel.
Okay.
He was one of the senior students of Chen Manching,
Okay.
and he had a strong background in judo. Actually, he one year he almost won the nationals.
Wow.
Here in the States in judo. He lost to a fella that right now escapes my mind, but he didn't lose. He lost him not on points or anything like that. He lost him because he tied. And the way they used to do the things in those days in the 60s, Dick Walters was his name. The reason why I mentioned Dick Walters, because he's very famous in those days, judo guy.
Right.
And he was a student of Ishikawa.
Ah.
And so we're talking about, big deal.
Right,
and
right.
The only reason why he lost to him is because they tied, they went to overtimes and stuff like that. And then they counted all the points that they had in the prior matches, all the points against them or whatever. And Dick Walters, I think he had a half a point better than him.
Oh, I see.
And that's got awarded the match.
So it's like a tiebreaker, but it's not based on anything that occurred in the match.
He did not lose to him, and that bothered him because he would always mention it. He would always say, "I got him up. I had him up. I just didn't turn enough."
Right.
Because he felt if he would have turned him, he would have knocked him down and get the win. So he was a very decent judo player, and also during those years there was an influx of judo teachers in the tri-state area. These young, strong, super duper college judo players.
Yeah.
So his judo really went up after that. So his mentality was always from there. His Taiji came. His Taiji idea, how to play, how to get better at it, was like, Taiji with a Japanese attitude, with a Japanese mentality.
So his basis and his core was mostly judo. So he took up Taiji later.
Yes. He took up Taiji later. A friend of his told him to go and meet Man-ching, he really didn't want to. He told me that he had no interest.
Right.
But his friend kept annoying him, and then he said, listen, if you come, I'll buy you Chinese dinner. And that's the reason we went. And, then he was there, and then his friend kept annoying him, saying, look, why don't you push with the old man? Why don't you push with the old man? And he really did not want to. And he told me, I got very upset at my friend because, he was putting me in a bad situation. Here's this old man, and, I'm a young, strong guy, and, oh, hold on, sorry.
No problem, go ahead.
Let me get rid of this. And, he was very upset at him. And then, they said, look, the old man is going to lose face. He knows about it. He wants to play with you, so forth and so on.
Right.
So he says, all right, finally did it. And he told me as soon as I put my hands on him, he goes, I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble. I think his exact words was, he was holding me up, and I was near to a precipice. And all he had to do was let go of me, and I would fall in this precipice.
What was the size difference between the two?
Oh, big size difference.
So that's very impressive.
Not only size, but age. I think Stan in those days was a good 185 fighting weight. Not just 185 regular human being weight, but 185 fighting weight. Because he did a lot of tournaments. He loved tournaments.
Yeah.
And, he was maybe 23 or something, 24, I don't know.
Wow.
And Man-ching was 60s. And, maybe 140, 145, 150 tops,
Right.
And he goes, and he started laughing. And then everybody kept telling him, why don't you push him? Why don't you push him? And his answer was, you guys don't understand. I can't push him. And there's no, try. He goes, no, you don't understand. I can't push him. I cannot push him. And he goes, that's when I decided to learn from him. Actually, he told me this story, and he goes, you always heard of Mifune, the famous judo Mifune guy.
Yeah.
And in those days, the word going around was Mifune the empty shirt. Mifune the empty shirt, the empty jacket.
Yeah.
And he goes, heard about this empty jacket, but he goes, I've never felt it. And he goes, when I touched Man-ching, he goes, I got an idea what an empty jacket meant.
Mifune, if some of the listeners here are not familiar, there's actually a video of Mifune in his old age taking on a bunch of high-level black belts. And exactly, it looks like that. Half of the throws that he's executing or counter throws look unbelievable because they're so light, so effortless, and the guys that he's the judokas that he's fighting with are all strong, young, aggressive guys, and Mifune is just making it look easy. So you can see that on YouTube, actually, that video.
Exactly, and that's what he told me. He goes, he figures this is something to look into. And he said, learning from him, and he never regretted it. But he never stopped doing judo. He always kept doing both of them. And then actually, when he knew that he was going, when he was going to the nationals, and he assumed that Dick Walters was the strong guy to beat, that's when he went to Ishikawa. Because, Stan's from New York, and Ishikawa in those days was teaching in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And he goes, in order for me to find out who this Dick Walter is, I got to meet him. I got to play with him. I got to know what my competition is. And that's when he started going on the weekends. He would go to Philadelphia. He would drive 3.5 hours, whatever it was, and then come back Sunday night.
Wow.
And that's at Ishikawa, and he fell in love with Ishikawa.
Wow.
He said Ishikawa was the man. He loved him from head to toe. He goes, he was unbelievable. And he equated Ishikawa to Man-ching.
Okay. Yeah, so it makes sense that he wouldn't give up one or the other, because a lot of the times, and I think it's something that Chinese martial artists, but I think any martial artist they keep thinking that it's about style superiority. And they kind of forget that these styles they're not islands. They're not just separate islands that are totally disconnected and have nothing to do with one another. But they're mostly styles are just a different perspective on the same thing. They're just looking at the same thing, which is human conflict and methods of combat from different perspectives. So having more perspectives is a good thing. So I would say that somebody who has a judo background and he meets a good taiji teacher is going to have a better perspective on human combat. He's not going to sit there and say, okay, this is better and now I'm not going to do that anymore. I mean, of course, at some point we decide what is better and worse technique, but it's not really so much about styles anymore at that point. So that's very...
He said since he met Man-ching and he loved what he felt, he said he used that to improve his judo. And then eventually came to the conclusion that they were the same, one and the same. Whether one uses the jacket and one does not use the jacket, he goes, the principles were the same.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the principles of kuzushi, tsukuri, it's the same thing with the taiji, neutralizing. They have all these Chinese names that I'm not interested in remembering them. But they're basically the same thing. They're neutralizing,
right.
They're taking the balance out, putting the person in a precarious position. So where you attack in taiji or you throw in judo, it's basically the same thing. And I think that's what it's meant. Eventually, that's what I come to realize.
Well, yeah. Like the English terms that they use in taiji are things like uproot and off balance. Well, that's basically kuzushi. So
exactly, that's exactly what it's exactly the same idea, the same exact mentality in how to approach a situation, whether you want to attack or you're being attacked, and how to not use force against force. If the guy's faster, stronger, or whatever, you've got to use tools to try and figure the thing out. And judo works the same way.
Right.
When we go back in taiji, for some reason, and I think it has to do, in my opinion, there's no tournaments.
Yeah.
There's no competition. You talk to taiji people, they say, the medal, I don't care about the medal. Medal has nothing to do with it. Who cares about the medal?
Yeah.
It is finding bodies to play with, finding bodies to give you trouble, problems that you can solve. And it has to be full contact, in the idea that he's got to give me full force for me then to figure out how to evade, move, get under, neutralize him, unbalance him, tip him to do my job.
Yeah.
And this is missing G.
Would you say it's just competition, though, in your opinion? Wouldn't you say that even the idea that, because we got to give credit to Jigoro Kano for systemizing the older styles of jiu-jitsu, but then also understanding the importance of randori, which is basically free fighting.
Exactly.
So,
well, yeah, you're right. You got competition and you got randori, but that's it. In randori, it's a competition in your own school.
Right.
Tournaments, shiais, is competitions outside of the school.
Okay.
With other people, people, bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I mean by competition, obviously outside of your house, but also inside your house.
Very important.
And and also because taiji, with the philosophy, it attracts the older crowd, which I understand. The older people don't want to get thrown or slammed and stuff like that. And taiji, if it does attract the young crowd, it's usually in their 30s, but they're interested in the philosophy. I mean, I've been doing this for so long now that I met all types of people.
Of course.
And even people who think that they want to do a strong taiji. I remember when I went to Europe, I started teaching in Europe. Everybody kept telling me, "Oh, this is it. This is great. This is the taiji I've been looking for, what I wanted." And then 3 months later, they stopped coming because I played a hard game.
Yeah.
I remember in Italy, I started out with like 20 people. We ended up in less than 6 months with 4 people. And then people would invite me to teach, and then they stopped inviting me. But they said they wanted that game. You know what I'm saying?
I think people think they want something until they get that something, and they realize they maybe didn't really want that thing.
Yeah, because it's work. It's hard. and it's achy muscles, achy body, and then you don't want to go the next day because, oh, geez, I got to do that. I just worked this morning. And so Taiji is, very, in Europe, all I found was this kind of people, except for in Scotland. I met a guy named Dan Doherty, who he and I got along very well with our approach of how this should be done.
Right.
And, I find him and some of the students excellent, because of the idea of, again, competition for contact.
Well, name rings a bell. I mean, is he somewhat the same Dan Doherty that's quite well known in the circles today?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. He's a Wu style player.
I think so.
And in England and Ireland and thereabouts, he has strong people, and I really enjoy them because again, I think he took Taiji as more of a competitive spirit, fighting spirit, than most Taiji people who do. Again, nothing against the philosophy, nothing against jumping, and nothing against the cooperative play. I mean, to me, Taiji is it's like judo and aikido.
Okay.
Judo and aikido, they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
The difference is in aikido, there's cooperative play. In order for aikido to function, work, and do whatever the philosophy of aikido is, I'm not knocking it in any way, is to have cooperative play. You have a certain attack, and you know what the certain defense has to be. And then you have judo, which is basically, like aikido. But the difference there is you don't have cooperative play. You have, say, randori, where I'm trying to knock you down, and I'm going to do my best not to get knocked down by you, and my partner will do the same. And that's where you create an aikido-like game or a judo-like game.
Well, let me ask you something just based on that. I mean, and just you could answer this if you feel like answering it as openly as possible or not. But would you say...
It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just my opinion.
Sure.
All know.
But let's just say Aikido had to add one more step to its practice, and that would be randori, like with full resistance. Do you think it would change the methods and the techniques that they teach in general?
Absolutely. Yeah. If they continue with atemi, which is strikes, it's going to turn into a full contact karate.
Okay.
Period. Or if they decide to do throws, it's going to turn into judo. It's as simple as that. It can't go anyplace else.
Yeah.
So no matter which way it decides to go, but if it goes full contact and they're keeping it at a striking level, it's going to end up to be like a full contact karate game. Or if they try to throw, then it's going to be a judo game.
Right.
And Taiji is the same thing, but for some reason, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. It has become aikido, for lack of a better word, but and you see all these videos all over the place where people are jumping, guys touching him and the student is jumping. It's cooperative play. It's cooperative in even if the student doesn't know it's cooperative.
Right.
Because he's giving an attack which the teacher already knows what's happening and how to deal with it. Which, again, nothing wrong with it. I got nothing against Aikido. I actually did a little Aikido. I remember once I had busted my knee, and I couldn't do Taiji. So, I said, well, let me go do Aikido for a while. And I had a lot of fun.
Okay.
Because you're flying the place. I mean, I was laughing. I was flying all over the place. It was beautiful. But, nice. It wasn't my cup of tea. Eventually, when I fixed my knee, then I went back to judo because I figured, now, and that's different. Now you got people who want to knock you on your ass. You know what I'm saying?
So when you were studying with Israel, was he teaching a particular Taiji class, or was he teaching a class that was combined judo with his experience in Taiji all into one?
I think secretly, his idea was, because eventually, there was three, four, five of us, strong kids or stronger who wanted to play his game. Secretly, he wanted us to go into judo, and eventually, that is what happened. My friends all went into judo tournaments, and then started doing more judo.
Okay.
So secretly, I think that's what he wanted to do.
Okay.
Without telling that, at that time, that, this was going to happen. He wanted, I think, for us to get the idea, let's go do some judo tournaments. And we did. Well, I didn't do it because I had my knee busted, but all my playing partners, they all went to judo. And then when Stan passed away and then we closed the school, we all went to judo. And when I got my knee, I went back to judo.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, again, this is before the UFC, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all that stuff.
So were there any other of Chen Manching's students that you met apart from Israel?
Yes, I met a lot of them. In New York, you understand, and I'm friendly with many of them. So but Stan was a little different. Again, Stan mentality was, judo mentality, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, comparatively speaking, what were the differences between other students that had studied with Zheng Manqing and Stan? And you've just kind of answered that.
Completely different. Completely. The only one who had a similar idea to Stan was a fellow named Herman Kors. He just passed away. But he had a strong karate background, and he was also a judo champion. I think he was a national judo champion of Hawaii in 1953 or something. So he was also that way, similar. But he was much older than Stan, so when I knew him, he was, he just wanted to do Taiji and, not let people go crazy. Stan didn't care. Stan, the crazier you got, the more you woke up.
But
I'm being honest with you. He would come to class, and if nothing would happen, he would fall asleep. And then he heard noises, and if you heard people slamming in the wall or being thrown, he would open up his eyes, and he'd look. And if it kept going, then he would stand up. He would walk over. And then for an hour and a half, he's there telling us what to do, what not to do, how to do it better.
Oh, interesting. Maybe he was a man out of time. Maybe if he was alive when the UFC craze was going, he would have turned out to be one of the go-to and one of the guys that was developing and producing a lot of really high-level athletes at that point.
Without a doubt. I mean, he was really, really, like I said, he got lucky. He came at a time when I told you these college super duper judo expert came and stayed in the New York area. They were great. One of them became my teacher, and he was unbelievable, totally unbelievable. And these guys literally ran the judo scene in the New York, in the New York area, New York, New Jersey, Staten Island, all that stuff. Right. I mean, they were that good. And Ishikawa was even better than that.
Wow.
Because Ishikawa was actually, he was an All Japan judo champion. Right. He tied with the Kimura. But what happened is he would go to Pennsylvania. But then they opened a big gym for Ishikawa in Virginia. And, then it became almost impossible. Virginia's a little further than Pennsylvania.
Right.
So he stopped going.
So what got you interested? I mean, you said you went to Taiji first. If you don't want to say who your first teacher was or whatever, that's also.
No, my Taiji scene was the Cheng Manching scene, because that's what you have in New York City. And but again, they were into more or less what you see around in the videos, YouTube. Relaxation. And all that stuff, everybody knows this. And, I bought it too because, the magic, you don't use any strength, you don't need any strength.
Yeah.
You don't have to use any force. You don't have to sweat, and people fly. Come on.
It's the magic
Come
pill.
on, it's
The magic pill.
Jesus Christ. And I bought the whole thing. And actually what happened was I was bad at it.
Okay.
To be honest with you reminded me something. I was really bad at it. I was bad at Taiji. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't figure out. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't get it, and I actually quit.
Okay,
And
were
I
you
said to
looking
my
though? But were you looking for? I mean, what was the initial
I had
reason?
no problem with the magic. In those days, I had no problem with the magic. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, I see.
I couldn't do the magic. I was terrible at it. So I quit. And then I met somebody, a friend of mine who was at the school. He goes, "Hey, Mary, what you doing? Why didn't you come no more?" And I
Yeah.
said, "I can't do it. I'm terrible at it." And he said, "Well, I got something for Stan's back." I mean, Stan was a name that you would hear around. Oh, Stan was one of professors, better students, blah, blah. You would hear that. And actually, one of my first Taiji teacher was a friend of Stan. And he
Okay.
would often mention Stan as saying Stan was great. You don't know how good he was. He could knock. He could, so you would hear of Stan. And I hadn't met him 2 or 3 times, but just hello and goodbye. Nothing more than that.
Right.
And he told me, Stan's teaching again. I go, geez, I'm out. Don't tell me I'm out of Taiji. I don't want to come back. And he said, oh, geez, what am I going to do? So I said, listen, let me go. Actually, it was because I didn't want my friend to get better than me, I think. Because I said, actually, this Stan guy is actually good. And I meet my friend again a year or two from now, and then he kicks my ass easily.
Right.
I said, "Oh, let me go see the Stan, and let me see if he's real." And so this way, because I was out. And then when I put my hands on Stan, he was. I knew I found the guy. I knew it right away. There was no doubt.
I would say that maybe you yourself were, I mean, whether you consciously knew it or not, were more practically oriented and were looking for something rooted more in that reality sense of practicality, and maybe that's what attracted you.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. Believe me, the magic sounded great.
Oh, it
And,
did, huh?
the magic would have worked. Believe me, I would have been happy. But it's not that it didn't work. It's not that I was suspicious of it. I was terrible. I was terrible at it. The people kept yelling at me. People kept telling me I'm doing it wrong. People kept telling me I'm using too much strength. I'm using too much force. I'm not relaxing enough. And I left confused, bewildered. I said, listen, I'm still young. I go out at night. I go to after hours club. What do I care about training? And that was my idea.
Right. So you started with Stan, and you were hooked. I mean,
So first day.
I can believe and I can understand to a certain degree that a lot of people that teach martial arts, Chinese martial arts, they've got to keep their rice bowl full. So a lot of the time, I mean, you probably alluded to the Stan's method probably didn't have 100 students because not so many people would want to put up with that.
He didn't get paid.
Oh, okay.
It was all for free.
Right.
No money exchanged. The only money that was exchanged was to pay for the rented space, and
Right.
we would do that ourselves.
Oh, that's very generous
Stan
of him.
never asked for a dime, and he goes, he wanted it that way. He goes, I'm free. I come when I come. I leave when I leave. I don't have to worry about this guy paying. I don't have to worry about liking this guy, not liking that guy. He goes, I'm a free man. I what I want. You want to listen to me? You listen to me. You don't want to listen to me? You don't listen to me. He goes, I come here, I have a good time, I relax, I watch, like what I see, and that's how it started. That's how it started, and it kept going. There was never any exchange of money. He never got a dollar from us.
But it could be part of the reason why a lot of Taiji, apart from the reason that there's no competitive aspect to training in general with Chinese martial arts, it could be part of the reason why it became so easy for people. It's because that's the masses want.
Absolutely, because people are paying you now.
Yeah.
And if the guy doesn't come because it's too hard or there's a pain in the ass, but he gives you the $100 a month, and you got to, geez, what am I gonna do? I like to come out, but I can't because you got a few of these guys.
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Yeah.
And also the hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, look what's happening. Even now, and I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's not, but you even hear it now with the BJJ crowd, where, it's tournament, it's not really self-defense anymore. We used to do more. Now they got this new ways of doing things, which it works, but, if it's a self-defense, the guy he could get punched, he could not get punched. And and it's happening when something gets so popular. I think it's born, then it grows, and then it dies. And I think jiu-jitsu seems to be going into that area where where do we want to be? But it's so popular nowadays,
Yeah.
and young kids are going in there. The mothers and the fathers don't want the kids to get hurt, and it's great.
Yeah.
And now, people who actually work for a living, they got the 9 to 5. Maybe they're married, they got a family, they can't afford that their back hurts, their knee hurt,
Yeah.
So you got to tone down. Not everybody wants to do, these, tournaments, jiu-jitsu that you're having right now, with Eddie Bravo,
Okay.
and the
Submission only.
the killer Danaher, where all these foot locks are, ankle locks, knee locks are going, their knees are popping left and right now,
Like popcorn.
It's just the way it is. That's why judo banned them, because they were popping. Now it's happening here.
Yeah.
And you've got the die-hard people who really love it, and they don't care, and they get great. I mean, these guys are fantastic. They are unbelievable. They are true, in my opinion, taiji masters.
Yeah.
Whether they be these judo players or these Brazilian jiu-jitsu players. They're taiji masters, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Now, they got they more schools means more people, but they're lucky because they get young people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taiji people are not lucky; they don't get young people.
Right.
So it's a whole different ballgame. So bringing it back to taiji, it is what it is. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody gets to do it the way they want to do it. Except for me, because I want to do it in a certain way, and I haven't been lucky. I did try to teach it for, almost 20 years now, is it?
Yeah, it should be something
50.
like that.
I started teaching it the way we were doing it. And then I kept simplifying. Not because, but because I still wanted to teach it,
Right.
And then eventually I was just teaching nice, 55 and up. And it was great because they all paid, and they all paid on time, Young kids don't pay, how many people, I can't pay. Geez, why is that always me? But the older folks and the women, they all pay,
Right.
But then after a while, I said, it's enough for me. I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. You went into competition, and that's another thing that some of the people that have been involved for a longer period of time will remember and know about your background, is that you actually went to Taiwan and competed. You went to Chen Village, Chenjiago, and competed and won way back in the early days. And
by the way, I won Taiwan too.
Yeah.
Not to Taiwan, but I won there too.
Yeah. So this is just testament to the training method and to the teachers that you had and what they were imparting on you. But how did that come about? I mean, you were training with a guy who, for all intents and purposes, wasn't directly connected with the Taiji community. So how did it come about to actually go to these events?
Well, we heard about these tournaments happening in first of all in Virginia, but they were like once a year, So I went there, but like Stan's idea, whether he said it or not, eventually it was clear, was for us to do judo tournaments.
Yeah.
But after I busted, first I busted my shoulder. I got my shoulder dislocated because a guy makikomi, and and he landed on me, and he landed on my shoulders, and we didn't have any mats.
Yeah.
We just had a floor, and it just it popped.
What did you have? What injury was it? Do you know?
Yeah. What do you mean by what injury?
What did you injure? Did you tear a ligament, or was it what is it? Do you know the specific? Did you have it checked out, or you just let it heal?
No, I never had it checked out. I never had it checked out.
Yeah.
All I knew is that I couldn't throw regularly for 3 years.
I mean,
and the reason why
I've been grappling for like 6 years, and I've had the same thing, and it was exactly the same situation. I got taken down, I got thrown, we landed on each other with my shoulder, and I just felt the whole thing come apart, and
the pain was like for a year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable pain. And the reason why I'm saying, as a side thing, I couldn't throw for 3 years because I used to work in a restaurant in those days. So to kill boredom or to drive each other crazy at work, I was the bartender. Every once in a while, the waiters would throw things at me. Maybe a coffee bean or an olive.
Yeah.
And I would throw it back at them when they were taking orders or whatever. Just to get us, and not to get caught at the same time. Or trying to make the guy look bad. But now I can't throw anymore, so now I'm throwing with my left hand, and every once in a while, more often, I would miss, and it would get the table, and the patrons there would be aware of these things flying. So that's why I couldn't throw for 3 years because I was handicapped for a while. And so, so the point is, the idea was to go to judo tournaments, but first the shoulder went, and then the knee went. When the knee went, then it was over. There was no more tournaments judo for me, And that's when I says, well, let me do taiji, and we heard about this Taiwan tournament. So I went there, and it worked out. Everything was fine. I got to meet nice people and so forth and so on. And then this China tournament came about, but it came about because. People were saying, "Oh, these guys are great. These guys are unbelievable. They break bones." Ooh, when I heard break bones, I swear to God, it was like I got so excited. I said, "Yeah," because I believe there was a guy here, a student of Chen Wang or something, and he went with his students, and the students came back, and. We used to have, like I said, we used to have this. We call the push hands club. Because and a lot of people from other taiji places will come to us. Judo people will come to us. Wrestlers will come to us. So you would always get information. And these fellas came to us and they said, "Oh, we just came from Chen whatever." And, this guy broke his arm, the other guy broke his leg, the other guy broke this. It's crazy. My teacher went there, he won, but he only won the B division. And I said, all right. I got excited. And in those days, I started getting to the internet.
Yeah.
And you hear about these Wang brothers, I forget the names now,
Where were they?
They're like two brothers, One, I forget what their names are. What the hell is his name? I think anyway, they're like famous. The father's famous. He's one of the 5 tigers or whatever,
Okay.
And they said, and I talked about it. I remember one of the guys. I think he was a student of that line, this Chen line. He goes, "Oh, this fellow will flip you like a pancake," Oh, that's all he had to say. And then. There was this other crazy guy named, what the hell is his name? Mike Sigmund.
Yeah.
Used to have back and forths with him, and he's talking about how great the Chen people are and so forth and so on. I said, I got to go. I definitely got to go now.
Yeah.
And that's how I had to go.
You had a bit of a history with Sigmund as well, both online and in person.
cares about him? I don't care. But the point is, that's how I got. Yeah, he was a nobody. I met him once. I knocked him on his ass, and that was really it. That's how the fighting with Sigmund came about.
Right.
Because I knocked him on his ass. It's just a little thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess so I used the internet to get his thing. But anyway, not the point. The point I was trying to make is that's how I got to know about this Chen Village tournament. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known.
Mm.
And when I heard bones and when I heard flips, I had to go. I just had to go. And I found out when the next one was. I got a friend of mine who spoke Chinese.
Mm.
I said, just coming with me. And that's how that came about.
So there wasn't like an American trial and a group of people with a team leader, and it was all arranged from a central point at that point, was it?
No. It was me and my friend Jesse. There was another guy who helped us, navigate how to get to the actual village because, we had no idea.
Mm.
But nothing, none of that at all.
Did any other Americans go apart from you and your friend?
No, to compete, just me and my friend Jesse.
No other Americans from other schools went to that event.
Not that I know of. I didn't. No.
I mean, your I don't know. Your family's Italian, obviously. I've got a Mediterranean family too. I can imagine what your parents or relatives were saying to you when you're like, "I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to go to China. I'm going to go alone, and I'm going to go to the middle of this village and fight with them." They must have said, "Are you crazy? Are you
I was 40 years old. I was a 40-year-old guy. Nobody cares. I'm a 40-year-old guy. Who cares?
All right.
I think I just took a couple of weeks off from work. I said to the boss, I'll see you at the end of the summer. And he goes, you're crazy anyway.
And what was it like? What was it like when you arrived?
In which sense?
Well, all. I mean, it must have been a shock culturally, or were you?
Well, no, because I'm not that much of a tourist guy, but I enjoy the food. I enjoyed the food. I didn't like the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic was murder. Then we ended up at Chengjiagao, and that was fine. I got sick, unfortunately, and that really screwed me up.
Also from the food.
Yeah, that screwed me up. I think what happened was, because my friend got sick too, what happened was we ate at a hotel at Xi'an, and we ate at a hotel, and the food was tasted a little frizzy, like club soda frizzy,
Oh no!
Tasted a.
It's fermentation from some age.
I don't know. It tasted a little, and I'll never forget this.
Okay.
It was lunch. After we finished eating, we went back to our room, and we both passed out. We both woke up around 8 hours later.
Oh shit.
And our organs were still there, so it wasn't anything crazy. And then the next day, we were going to Chen Village, and we went with the train.
Yeah.
And since we didn't eat, because we didn't, we only had lunch, and the next day, so we were hungry, and we were on the train, and they said, there's a kitchen in the train. And we went back at it. We're talking about the old trains,
yeah, I know.
With old, this wasn't a modern train of any kind whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we ended up at this place that, you could see the grease dripping from everywhere.
Oh, no.
It was filthy. You could see the oil hadn't been changed in months for sure. It was the table, everything was bad.
Yeah.
But we were hungry, so we ate anyway. And I think that's when we got sick.
Okay.
Between the hotel and what happened at the train, that's when we got sick. Because that's when, the dysentery started happening.
Yeah.
And all that other crazy stuff.
And you still managed to compete. You still managed to compete.
To me, the treatment was not that hard. It wouldn't have been that hard if I was doing well.
Right. So you were you when you arrived there? I mean, I saw some of the people that you competed against. I mean, these guys, some of them were towering above you, some of them outweighed you. So obviously there were no weight divisions. Was it?
No. I purposely wanted the biggest. I wanted the biggest people, and I wanted that fella that one of these two brothers. But both brothers were supposed to compete.
Mm,
Again, I can't remember their names, but they're very popular. They were winning all the time.
mm,
I purposely wanted them. I wanted nobody else. And I remember, now you reminded me, I went there. And I signed everything, and they said, "You go to B division."
yeah,
I go, "I'm not going to B division. I'm going to the A division."
yeah.
And they said, "No, you must first go to B division." "Oh, I'm going to A. I paid all this money. I'm going to A." And we screamed, they yelled for I don't know how long, and then eventually they gave me the A division.
Wow.
So I played, where you see on those things on top of the lay tie or whatever it's called, because the B division, they were like, it's a weaker division, a weaker crowd.
Obviously, yeah. Well,
So I wanted the A, and they gave it to me. I screamed, they yelled enough that they just said, "Oh, just give it to him," because everybody, they obviously assumed, one match and you're out.
right.
So they eventually they didn't care, but I cared. I wanted the biggest, and I wanted those two brothers. I wanted them.
You came with a plan. You came with a target.
Yeah, I'm going all from New York to China to do what? To sightsee? No, I wanted the competition.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a real fighting spirit. A lot of people don't have that anymore, and they're content to go and get a participation medal, come back to their own countries and say, "Look, I won this, and I'm this champion and that champion," and they know they didn't earn it, and they know they didn't do what they think they or what they're telling people they did, and that's really dishonest. I mean, we're supposed to be martial artists, so you really had the mindset of a martial artist, and
I don't know any of that. All I know is that I wanted them. And I wanted the biggest people because it cost me a lot of money to get there.
yeah, well, that's it.
You
As some people would take it the other way around. They're like, I paid all this money to get there and I've left without a medal. I mean, that's the dumbing down and the weakening down of the martial arts society. I'm just speaking my own opinion here. People can agree or disagree, but that's part of it too, So, what were the competitions in contrast to the Taiwanese competitions? Were they exactly the same format and rules, or were they completely different?
I'm not good with rules and things like that. I don't like to read this thing. I like to watch, and then I see what's going on, and then I can follow.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed the Chen Village more.
Okay.
Because of the stage, I enjoyed it more. I love the idea that you can throw people out of the stage, out of the platform. I think it made it more exciting.
Right.
As far as level is concerned, I think they were equal.
Really?
I think they were equal. But I think there was more young. I saw more young people at the Chen Village.
Okay.
As far as their abilities, I think they were equal. I mean, in those days, you got to understand, even though I had a bad knee and I had a bad shoulders, I'm still in great shape. And even though I don't mean that negatively to say they were basically green belt players. One or two, I would say they were brown belt players. I will say that.
Okay.
I think both in Taiwan and China. And, I think I'm giving them correct credit when I say they were brown belt level.
Okay.
But mostly green belt, just green belt level.
Right.
There was, look, I had dysentery. I couldn't. No, really, I couldn't eat. I swear to God, I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat a bite. I cannot explain it. I couldn't eat anything. I ate on the 6th day. So for 5 days, I didn't eat anything.
Wow.
While I'm going to the bathroom every 5 minutes. And actually, the lady, she gave me, I don't know, she gave me, it's like a rice gruel.
Yeah, porridge. Rice porridge.
Yeah. That was the only thing I could eat.
Yeah.
But I found out about it on the 6th day. I couldn't eat anything. Nothing would go past my lips, no matter if it was vegetable. I tried everything, vegetable, fruit, because I was hungry. I was starving.
Of course. Of course.
It wasn't that I wasn't starving. I was starving, but I couldn't put food in my mouth. I don't know what kind of bacteria I had, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't eat anything. And I was hungry. And when she gave me this rice gruel, it just went down. I remember I had like 5 or 6 bowls, and
Yeah.
I was hungry, So, I mean, I was really sick, and I was really weak. I mean, that's what made it hard. I don't mean to sound like a wise guy, but if I wasn't sick, it wouldn't have been, I mean, I would almost say disappointing,
Yeah.
you know? Then Taiji people are not as strong as they like to think they are. But again, I played with judo people. I played with national players.
Right.
I played with young. I'm a little guy. Everybody's bigger than me. I mean, judo. I play with wrestlers. If you don't have your full concentration, you're gonna get slammed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, I'm not trying to be a wise guy when I say they weren't good, but I got to compare them with somebody.
Right.
So I compared them with the people that I played with the judo people I played with my partners, with the with the wrestlers, and Thai people, whether it be Taiwan or China, they just didn't compare. I mean, I couldn't give them more than green belt, even though, like I said, 1, 2 of them. I would have given them brown belt level players.
Okay.
I mean, you could see that they had skills, and I remember when I played the fellow that I won, the brother, I could see that he had skills.
Okay.
I could see. You got to understand. I haven't eaten in 5 days. I'm not exactly jumping up and down with vitality. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You said that you fought with one of the those purported Wong brothers. Was that the bigger in the final, or was it one of the earlier matches?
It was the final.
That big dude.
No, the big dude. No, the big dude was the before the final.
Ah, okay.
The real big dude. I loved him. He was a gentle giant. What a beautiful man. Oh, beautiful man. What I heard from him, because my friend, like I said, he speaks Chinese. He was a Shuaijiao champion, and a Taiji champion of Beijing. He came from Beijing.
Okay.
He was very strong. There was no doubt about it. I don't think he was that skilled. But you got to understand, he was so strong, and I was so weak that
Right.
I couldn't really. I felt that the one guy, I think that's his name. I forget his name. He was more skilled. He was more skilled.
Okay.
But that big giant was, oh man, he was so strong. He was so strong. He was unbelievably strong.
Yeah, I think it was Sam Message. He released I don't remember the name of that series. Was it People of Taiji or Taiji People?
Yeah, Sam's my friend. Good guy.
Well, I mean, it's getting views since last year. I think he uploaded a few of the episodes, and particularly your episode. And I think it wasn't very long after you went to this competition, and it was.
Yeah, this thing was like 20 years old. He finally got around to it.
Yeah, it's 20 years old, right? So
he gave me a call. He goes, Mario, I'm in New York. I'm doing this thing. What are you guys doing? I goes, we're not doing anything. He goes, I like to it. I said, well, there's a place. A friend of mine has a place. We can go talk there. That's impromptu. Literally in a half hour. He happened to be in New York, and he gave me a call, and we did that thing in a half hour.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I liked that it was impromptu because you really spoke exactly what was on your mind, and I mean, obviously, it's a time capsule. So I mean, you'd have to attest to if your thinking is still the same today as it was back then. But I really enjoyed what you had to say there.
Oh yeah, well, that's when I had the enthusiasm. That's when I thought that. I could teach this thing, and there would be people interested, like I was, and some of my friends was. So I was very enthusiastic.
Right.
I really wanted to. The assumption was, people will like this, and they would do competitions, and people would get better, but it never matured.
It never materialized. Yeah, but you said something in there. I think it was one of the first things in the video, which is it resonated with me. It's something that I've been also a keen, advocate of. You said that all of these other things, the health, the spirituality, they are side effects. They are side effects of the art. And
I learned, yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's really important because, I mean, and for me, it's like you could say that it's a side effect and people will still get, confused. They'll say, yeah, but I just want to practice the side effect. But you can't. It's like the side effects of a medication only manifest if you drink the medication, right? So I can't get the same side effects without going through that process. And it's really hard to explain to people, like those side effects. Yeah.
My teacher, I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
go
but
ahead.
my teacher, they use the word byproduct. I think it's even better. It's a better word than side effect. I learned. I must admit, I got this from him. I learned it from him. Yeah. It's a byproduct. If you want something, you'll get things out of it, but you don't go for this. You go for the actual
thing.
Like let's say milk. Milk. Then you have byproduct. You have cheese. You have yogurt. You have all different types of cheeses and whatever, but you need the milk. You don't go for yogurt. You can't get yogurt without milk. You can't get cheese without milk.
True.
So it's a byproduct. And I think people, like you said, do misunderstand. Spirituality is a byproduct. Health is a byproduct. You get all of these things. How far you can get them, how deep you can go is up to you and your ability. But the deeper you go, the more stuff you're going to get.
Yeah.
And that I got from him, and I believe that totally.
I think it's a very valid point, and I think more martial artists, particularly Chinese martial artists, need to understand this. I mean, what you even said to me, like you went to Chen, you wanted to go to the A division, and you wanted to fight the best that you'd heard about. Now that mentality could be called spirit, and that spirit is a result of your training. And I don't want to talk about spirituality like tingling in your fingers and other
things. Of course, and I understand what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I don't know because I can't see it any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I learned it from my training. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure I probably did.
Yeah.
But I see, I mean, there's no way I can go to a place and not, play the best that they've got. Right. It would make no sense. I mean, it doesn't register any other way.
Right. And
I want to get beat up.
Well, that's
almost as if I want to get beat up. I want you to beat the living daylights out of me, and I'm going to do my best to stop you.
Right.
To me, this is it's what I don't know. I think when stuff happens, your brain shoots chemicals out or something. I don't know, because that's it. You want the competition. You want it to be hard.
Well, that's it.
You want it to be.
That's it. I felt the same thing. I mean, as I said, I've grappled for many years, and it's on the days that I get completely smashed that afterwards I just have this completely euphoric feeling for the rest of the day, and I'm like, man, I want to get back there tomorrow and get smashed like that again, And
if you do get smashed, then there's something inside you that says, no, that's not going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
Not going to happen. It will not. You got away with it today. Tomorrow, I'm coming after you.
Yep.
Again, I don't know what this is to the philosophical people, whether it's negative.
Sadism. That's what it is to the philosophical people.
It's positive. There's no hate involved.
No, I know.
There's no deceit involved. There's how do I beat this? How do I, how does he get away with this?
Yeah.
What is he doing? I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the only way to figure it out is if you practice.
Right.
Not if you think about it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's normal. But again, maybe I've got it because I trained. I don't know. Maybe it's a byproduct that I got. Who knows?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've interacted with a lot of people from a lot of different disciplines, not just Chinese martial arts, and the ones that actually went in and did the real hard, resistance, combative training, all had the same mentality and all had the same byproducts, and all had the same drive, spirit, determination, and benefits in the rest of their life, They were some of the most centered and and calm people that I've ever dealt with. Meanwhile, it's the other people that are not doing that are preaching peace and sogginess and softness and harmony, that were the most, well, they would flip out. They had character flaws that I can't explain.
Exactly.
So
exactly, they're not tempered. They let the emotions rule them. They let the emotions run them.
which is totally
And
ironic.
it has to be the other.
Yeah, it's totally
It
ironic.
has to be the other. The only way you can do it. I mean, many times, Stan would say to me, "You need a beating, kid. You need a beating. You need a real beating." And in the beginnings, I didn't understand that. Then, when I got better, I played with better people. I got lucky. I played with wrestlers and judo people. I started to understand. I go, holy shit! This is a beautiful art.
Right.
This will temper you. Put things back together again instead of being run by emotions.
Yeah, I think I think it's something society today definitely needs, seeing that they've all gone somewhat insane.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you can even see it in these memes,
Yeah.
where you have playgrounds for children, 2021, and then playgrounds for children, 1950s. It was completely different, completely different. You say, my God, today, if the mother see all those crazy apparatus, they would say, not my kid,
You know what?
So we have became.
Go ahead. I heard this quite recently. I was watching Chris Rock's latest stand-up thing, and then there's this part where he's talking about he took his kids to orientation at the school, and the headmaster or the vice principal, whatever you call them, said, I don't want you to worry. We have no bullies at our school. We have a no bully policy. And he was like, well, what the fuck is that? I want the bullies. I mean, he's like, the bullies are what teach your kids how to act, how to behave, And he actually.
Yeah, we're too protected. I totally agree with you. We're too protected. We're protecting our kids too much. I mean, I get it. They make, if you look at things at different views, it all makes sense. But yeah, we're too protected.
Yeah.
And again, Taiji people are overprotected.
Right.
They're afraid. They're afraid of everything. They know everything.
That's it. Now that's the other thing you said in that episode, which I really enjoyed. You were like, these people talk like they know, but they don't know what they're talking about. But they talk like they know all about it. And that just sums it up.
Let me tell you something. This is something that I've discovered the last few years. In the last few years, because before that, I think I knew what I think I knew. Mm-hmm. When somebody would tell me about my work, I was very confident about what I knew. Now I'm not that confident anymore. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I don't know what I know anymore, or if I know anything anymore, or if what I do is or isn't Taiji, or what Taiji isn't. But what I do see and what I do realize now is if I look at people who are less experienced than me, that I think then I know what they're doing wrong and why they're doing it wrong and what they should do to make it better. Even though if I ask myself how to improve myself, especially now, that I'm older, there's nobody to train with, I got all my injuries, so I can't really play rough and tough like I used to, that would teach me. See, playing rough and tough teaches you, but when you got to teach yourself, it's very difficult.
Right.
And you got to figure out, how to train a certain way to, get your strength, get your flexibility. It becomes harder. But I can look back and I can see people who are missing things. So even though I may not know what's ahead of me, if I turn around, I see what's behind me. And I can tell where people are.
Right.
And so that's why when people think that they know, and you can see them and you can see that they're making mistakes, serious mistakes, but they don't listen because they read or they understand the English of it and it makes sense to them mentally, but without the word, they don't know. And it's very hard to explain to them that they really don't know and what they're understanding is wrong, even though it makes sense with the words or or how they read it, or how it's been told them. But unless they practice, unless they make a million mistakes, unless they get rid of all the mistakes and try different routes and different places and slowly move forward until what they heard and what they do now it comes, a full circle or comes into a point you really don't know.
Yeah.
And that's hard to call Taiji people. That's why I think Taiji is screwed up now.
Yeah.
That's why you have so many masters. I mean, how could you have masters who never did any tournaments of any kind? I mean, full contact tournaments. I don't care what it is. It could be karate, could be judo, could be Brazilian jiu-jitsu, could be Muay Thai. They do forms. Form is not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's nothing against. It's just not enough.
Yeah, it's just part of it. It's just part of it.
And forms. The problem is, forms will lie to you because you lie to yourself when you make shapes, when you make movements, whatever. You're moving air. Air is nothing. You can make a lot of mistakes. You'll be pardoned by the air. But a guy who wants to knock you down, who has experience, he's not air.
Yeah, very true.
And he'll knock you down. Then you say to myself, what am I doing wrong? I thought I understood. It made sense. It was logical. But no, there's something when you do it that completely changes.
Yeah.
And again, these people are all masters now. And they're all doing these things on Facebook, YouTube, Zoom now. Everybody's teaching. Everybody knows. None of them have any competition. What I mean by competition, you know what I mean? The training where they're both trying to knock their heads off.
Pressure testing. Pressure.
Yeah, pressure testing. There you go. Thanks. If you don't have pressure testing, how could you be an expert?
Yeah.
Now, again, we're going back to the Aikido mentality where there is this. You know what's happening and you know how to go about it. And what's happening when you go about it, it's dumbified, it's simplified.
Yeah.
Where there's no, it's very easy to do.
Right.
And if it becomes very easy to do, and then you get good at that, now you think you're getting better. Like last year, there's this fellow that I met. I used to go to the spark every once in a while and play, with my friends. And there's this fellow. He's a wonderful guy, great guy, beautiful guy. But he likes to jump Taiji. He likes, the uproots, the tifangs, there's another name for them. What do you call it? The fajins. You see all these YouTube things. And that's what he likes, So he's a beautiful man, wonderful guy. So every once in a while I play with him because I know how to play a little bit that game.
Yeah.
I know how to make him jump, make him pop. And, he thinks I'm doing it. But the point is, when I play that with him, every once in a while I get drunk myself. I say, wow, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really fantastic. And then, when I make him pop or when I catch the timing correctly or when I take his route just perfectly that he flies and I don't feel anything, and I feel a little bit, I go, oh, I got to do it even better. And I swear to God, I get drunk. I become like, I feel like, I'm like, oh, I'm fantastic. I'm great. It happens automatically.
Yeah.
And then, since, again, I'm lucky, I got a good friend of mine that I play with, and we play our way. Then when I play with him,
doesn't work.
That stuff doesn't work anymore all of a sudden. And now I got to get serious.
Yeah.
Because if I make a mistake, he's going to pop me.
Right.
So now we get serious. And I can see why you get drunk on these Aikido. I call it Aikido because I don't have a name for it. But these jumps, these uproots, I don't want to mention names.
Right.
Teachers, of course, know that. But you've seen it. Everybody, one little finger touch or one this thing, and the guy can't move.
And he's hopping. He's bouncing around.
All of these. And this guy likes them. But when I do it with him, I do it because I like him. He's a wonderful guy, and he wants to play with me once in a while, or every once in a while he wants to show me that he's got it better now, or he's got it figured out, And he goes, man, I got to, and I do it, and nothing changes. It's always the same. Right. But I get drunk because I'm working on so little force, and the force is so linear. Even though he doesn't know that he's doing that, And then now I play on timing. I play on movement. I try to get the angles going, and he pops so beautifully that I swear to God, there's a smile on my face, and I said, "Boy, I'm good." And I said, "Mario, you're doing it again. You're getting drunk." So after I go straight to my friend, I go, "Bring me back down to earth."
Right.
I mean, it's true. So I understand why they get drunk and why
No,
they
true.
think what they're doing is special.
Have you seen?
But it isn't.
Have you seen the? I don't know if you've seen the Kodokan and the judo curriculum. Those very, very high level. It's almost like partner routines, and it's you.
Oh, Uchikumi. Uchikumi.
Well, it looks kind of like magic, It's. It
Are you talking about the forms? You're talking about the forms.
Right, and they're considered the high level forms, and it looks like the one guy is just stepping forward and the other guy is falling over. And have you seen those?
Well, yeah, but you got to understand, forms in judo, they come after you become a black belt.
Well, that's exactly what I was getting at.
That's the Chinese.
Right, so that's exactly what I was getting at.
You become a black belt, then you start doing forms.
Yeah.
And then from there, you start doing the, I forget the names. I haven't been done this in so many years. But they're the self-defense moves. There's a name for that. I can't remember. And then from there, yes, then you do the forms. And I remember I would talk to Stanley about that. He goes, you got to understand, these guys are now in their 70s and their 80s.
Exactly.
What do you expect them to do?
Well, for me, I was looking at that because, there's a lot of correlation to what you've just said about these Chinese Taiji masters and these people that practice. But the difference is that those judokas have gone through hell.
Absolutely.
And that's
the difference. That's the difference. You get the forms are later on.
Right.
The forms is after you had your career and you still want to do it. And, you're not going to do randori all the time because you're old.
Yeah.
Yes, then you do the forms. The forms, then they make sense because you got timing, you got position, you got balance, you got angles, you got attitude, you've got intention, attention.
Right.
Yes, of course.
Right.
I fully agree with you. And Taiji can be great, played slow down. Like I said, I play with my friend, we played a semi-slow down game, but it's still different because our intention and attention is there. Our rooting is there. Our ability to neutralize is there. Any mistakes, I'm going to kill him.
Exactly.
And he's going to kill me too. It's not, it's like an in-between game, So yes, the slow game can be played fantastically, but you got to have the experience of how much to put, how much not to put, where to put it, and how to get out of it. But that has to be done when you know that there's something is coming, is real, and it's not superficial.
Right.
It has to be deep.
So it's as if
it has to be.
It's as if a lot of the practice goes from, step A to step Z with Taiji. They've missed all that stuff in the middle. And when I say step A to step Z, it's what I'm correlating it to the judo progression system, So.
Oh, I think so. I agree with you because first you got to learn. Let's talk about simplify. Let's talk about push hands. First you got to learn the movements. Then you play the little game that gets you going. But then you got to eventually with the rules of the how to unbalance, how not to be too linear. How all of these you put them, but it's got to be in the rock'em sock'em robot world.
Okay, yeah.
You've got these tools that you've been given. You have to put them in the rock'em sock'em robot world,
right?
Where the guy wants to take your head off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do you make them work? And then later on when you're older. And you have this experience, and your partners have this experience, you can play a slower game, but the intensity is still the same.
Yeah.
Even though it's a slow game, it doesn't have to be fast. You can take the speed out, but you don't take the concentration
The intent.
out. You don't take the intensity out.
The intent, yeah.
You don't take that out. And you feel it. You go, Jesus Christ, he's on me. He's almost on my center.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't look like but he's precise.
Right.
And he's connected and the ground is there, you know. And then you say, I got to move the right way. And if you don't move, you can't stop that thing moving. It doesn't have to be fast.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's go on.
So that's almost a level of
Like
that's a level of perfection at that point.
Yeah, you know. But again, you're still not going to beat the young guys, though.
Yeah, I know.
Again, we got to go back to that again. The young guys who compete, the rock and sock and robots will get good. You just because now you know, and you're not going to beat the young guys.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can still play as an older guy.
Right.
But the game is serious.
Yeah.
The game, even though it's not fast and it's not full out in the get-go, it's still serious, concentrated, and it's there. And if you make a mistake, you're going to get caught. If I make a mistake or two, my friend's going to get me. And if he makes a mistake, he's gone. He's going to get, but he's rooted. You got to understand, these people are rooted now. And uproot them is not that easy. To take the balance off a guy who knows how to do it is not that easy.
Yeah.
But he gets that from having played with people who do that. Like my friend, when I first met him, I met him 10 years ago or something. He was terrible. He was terrible. You know, he was supposed to be the best in the park, but he was terrible. And there's a video of me and him playing. He was terrible. I show now. I got to be very careful, you know, because we play, and he's very smart. He's very bright. He's deep, you know. So now, obviously, we haven't played because of COVID.
Right.
But you know, when we play now, we're very serious. Maybe the first 30 seconds we're not that serious, you know. But then we inch closer. He gets closer to me, and I don't mean that physically. I mean his force gets closer to my center.
Your center.
That's what I'm talking about. But he gets close, and then when he gets so close, now we're serious.
Now it's dangerous.
Because now I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can't. I won't be able to stop him, or he won't be able to stop me. And then it lasts about 20, 30 seconds, you know. And then boom, then we get sick, and then we sweat. We because then if he's good, if he's hard to unbalance, if he's hard to make him make a false move or make him assume that something is happening while you're actually doing something else or you're preparing something else, you know, that's the game. Or like sometimes we laugh. You see him trying to do something. And I laugh at him, and I say, you ain't going there. There's no way you're going. And he starts laughing because, now we know.
You both know. Yeah.
But that came from training. You know, this ability that I have now, even though it's an old guy, all busted, you know, I can still do this slow down version because I can get to your center. Yeah. I can find your center. And before you move, I already feel your center move. So I just get out of the way from your center. Yeah. I'm not that much interested in you, you know?
Well, yeah.
Unless you're equal to me, then we both got to be serious because, you know, when two players are equal, then you got to be serious all the time. But if there's a little disparity, you know, between experience, you can fool around a little bit, you know? But that's after.
Yeah.
You need the hard work. You need a guy who wants to knock your head off.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not the right way to say it because, you know, you have rules. In judo, you got rules. Kickboxing, you have rules. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you have rules. You put rules, for safety reasons.
Right.
But then, you know, you go all out. You got to go all out.
Yeah. So
that's kind of it.
No, I agree fully with everything you've just said. And I mean, I kind of, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but over the years, because now we've got that period where you went to the Chen village, you came back to the States, you started trying to promote this method and trying to see if it would get more people interested. There'd be more people training hard, training in this mentality, regularly competing within their own schools and maybe even on an outside basis if it got set up because it grows, etc. But that didn't happen, did it?
No, with me, it did not. And I'm seeing Taiji getting less and less and less. I don't see any tournaments. I don't see anybody interested in it. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I just outside. That's why I mentioned than the archetype because these are the only guys who are doing it. And I believe they're doing it in, I don't know, what's it called, Sanda? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
The kickbox, the Chinese boxing. I'm not sure what the names
Yeah,
are,
Sanda.
It's the only one who's doing that I know of, I'm not saying, I don't want nobody to get insulted by me, but that's why I like them. That's why when I met him, oh, Jesus Christ, that was great.
Right.
And so every once in a while I talk to one of the students. Again, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
So outside of them, I don't know anybody who's doing anything in Taiji. I don't.
So what happened with you after that? I mean, did you just kind of stop teaching, or what happened with your personal path after?
Well, it's a long one. It has to do with the market crash.
I'm sure that's connected to everything. Yeah.
Yeah, when the market crashed, I lost my business. It's a long story, and I got angry at the world and me. I couldn't sleep, blah, blah, blah. So I decided to go to Europe.
Okay.
And when I went to Europe, because, I wanted to see old families and stuff like that and get my head straight. But then I get this crazy cockamamie idea of teaching in Europe. And I met these Italian people.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were like 15, 20 in the beginning, but then we ended up, like it always happens, 4 or 5. Right. But they were good, for 3, 4 years, maybe 4 to 5 years closer. Yeah. They did everything I asked them of. They did everything. We worked 2.5 hours, 3 to 4 times a week. They never said no. So I stayed in Italy for that long, and then I ended up in Spain. But in Spain, there was I couldn't find that interest. But I was teaching, I was with the wife. I was teaching in Spain, so I started teaching a little Taiji yoga. I used to be into yoga, believe it or not.
Oh wow! Rehab,
because it's hard work. Real yoga is hard, And I was lucky enough to have met a teacher who was an excellent yoga. He'd kill you. You couldn't do his class.
Oh, really?
I mean, it was so hard. It was really hard, And so I started teaching yoga and Taiji in Spain.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I figured maybe my life now is in Europe.
Uh-huh.
But then, the world gets in the way. And about a year or so ago, I decided to come back in the States.
Ah, so you've only been back a year or so back in the States?
Yeah, I've only been back a year or so,
wow.
Maybe tops two.
Wow. Where were you in Italy?
In Italy, I was a place called La Spezia.
Okay.
It's very close to Genova. But I was there because of these guys. These guys who became friends, and they did everything I asked them. They never said no. I mean, they beat the shit out of each other. And I love to do everything I could think of. I will let them do it. And they never said no. And they got really, really strong. They got really, really thick. When I met them, they were like, I don't know. They were like maybe every one of them was like 140 pounds, 130 pounds. Now 2 of them are over 200 pounds. One of them is over 190 pounds. They got really thick, really strong. They became bulls.
Yeah.
Not technically good. Their technicality is not as, it didn't go up with their ability to be bulls, but they're very good. They're fantastic. No one, I don't know how, anyone who could probably best them.
Wow.
I would, in Europe, nobody can best them and call it this wrestling, because I like to call my push hands a mixture of sumo and Greco-Roman.
Okay.
That's what it's what it would look like on the outside
to
people. On the inside,
what's going.
There's skills.
For sure.
There's the ability to not to let his weight, let his force land fully on you. How to get under him, how to get him off balance. That's there. But for people
interesting
not see that.
Yeah, the way that you've just described it is quite interesting, because I mean, my background, you might know a little bit. I did work for the International Wushu Federation for quite a while, and I've left. I mean, many reasons for that, particularly the direction it was going, but in terms of the competitive side of things. But at some point, we were having this discussion about trying to create some form of push hands competition to put it on as an official event. And I remember a couple of the Chinese teachers that were teaching outside of China for many years, and we were discussing this idea, and it was as if I was talking like we were talking two different languages. I mean, okay, we were speaking in the same language, but the idea was this, that I mean, the first thing out of the mouth was like, yes, but we've got to make sure that these people are Taiji people that enter the push hands competitions, because we don't want judo players to enter. I'm like, what is that?
That's the first mistake right there. You want the judo player. You want the wrestler. You want to beat them up. This is your game.
That's what I said to them. I couldn't.
You want to show them that when you're in my house, it's a different game, you know, and that's what I used to do when I used to go to judo. You know, when I used to go to judo, I was humble. You know, I mean, you know, I knew that they were better than me, but I made them work. But when they came to us, they would work.
Well, this is the mentality problem. This is exactly the mentality problem. I just looked at the guy and I said, well, first of all, they're going to abide by your rules, yes or no? Yes. I said, so what do you care where the guy comes from? No, we don't want judo people to come here and beat everybody. I said, if they're beating you, there's something wrong with your taiji. It's that simple.
Hey, now you know what I've been going through for the last 20 plus years. What I've been banging my head on for the past 20 plus years. This exact sense.
And you don't see it the other way around, though.
I'm with the States, with tournament promoters telling them they're crazy. But they kept telling me I was crazy.
No, you're definitely not. You know, at the end of the day, you don't see that problem the other way around. You'll see judo people, wrestlers go into other formats and succeed. They'll go into
absolutely. Yeah, you can be whoever you want to be. Judo, and you enter a judo tournament. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, you got to follow the rules of judo. And then you can do whatever you want. Wrestlers go there, Brazil, and like right now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu go to judo, judo go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, you want people. Yeah. You want bodies. And you want strong bodies. You want experienced bodies. You want bodies that do things that you maybe can't do or can't do well.
Well, ironically,
Taiji people.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, no, you can't live in your bubble. I mean, come on. Yeah. You know, ironically, after your time in the Chen village, I don't know if you've seen how the toy show movement. You probably don't really know what happened, particularly within the Chen village, and their sport toy show movement, which they try to make a little bit more professional. You know, and ironically, they started learning methods from Shuaijiao, and Shuaijiao people started learning methods from judo people. So you've got this trickling down that came into.
All I know is this. I found out later on by one of these Taiji teachers. He's a famous guy. Excuse me, I don't remember his name. And he told me that after I won, they stopped letting foreigners compete with the Chinese people. So now when foreigners go there, they have their own separate tournament thing.
Well,
so
there you go.
You can't play with them anymore. And I'm not gonna lie to you. After a while, I did see some. This is just pure ego on my side, and it's not real. But I don't mind believing it. I believe that they changed because of me.
No, I think they did. I think you're onto something there for sure.
They changed because of me. Now, I'll admit it, it's pure ego. If it's not true, it doesn't matter, and I couldn't care less. But they did change a little bit. I saw them doing some throws and doing some different kinds of pushes.
Exactly.
Anyway, I like to believe. If it's not true, it doesn't
matter.
Well,
I mean, you said it earlier, too. Why do we go and train and get smashed? It's so we can change and improve ourselves, right? So, you know, when a foreigner comes along and beats you in your own art, you start to think, what's he doing that I'm not doing, and how can I fix it? And so, of course, there was an effect. Of course there was.
Yeah, but then you made a mistake. But if it's true what this teacher said, now the foreigners can play with the locals.
So that's real ego getting in the way of development. And that's exactly the same mentality as these people that I was talking about when they're like, we don't want people from judo or wrestling to come in. I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's just silly. You're going to, there's no point in being a big fish in a little pond. I mean, that's just stupid, really. And then being happy about it, so...
Well, no, because and besides, these Taiji people in China, they could have a great product.
Yeah, they could.
And they're not building it. I mean, you could have a tournament every 3 months instead of every year.
Right, right.
But you got to build the people. Look what happened here. I mean, look at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Exactly.
They came. Let's say United States. I mean, they took over the world. It doesn't. But let's say United States. They came here. They beat everybody up.
Yeah.
And what happened? Everybody joined them, and everybody got better. Technically, Jiu-Jitsu is much better now than it was when it was in Brazil. Everybody says that. I'm not saying that. I wouldn't dare say, to think that I know more than they do, but they say it.
No, it's
they
true.
All saying it. Oh, Jesus Christ! When I was in Brazil, and in the days of Brazil, yes, we were tough, but now, these guys are unbelievable. They're great.
Yep.
So the skill of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu players is triple, quadruple. Huh? Why? Because there's a welcome sign.
Right.
Instead of closed. And you can only do things our way, and badly anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it; it was bad. Same thing with Taiwan. Taiwan hasn't gotten any better. I mean, I'm not. In Taiwan, I think the reason why I don't mind saying that because it's mostly the young style. Where the Chen village is the Chen style. I'll pick on anybody. I don't care. So the styles in Taiwan, they're not doing it any better because the mentality is closed too. I mean, if I had the power in Taiwan, I'd say put the Lei Tai table there, throw people out, and make it get rid of some the rules that don't make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Let a little bit, and they'll get better.
Yeah.
And they'll get better. But they're not doing that because the teachers don't know.
So now that you're back in the States, are you looking to further develop this?
No. I mean, in my head, I would still love to do it, but I don't see how. Actually, before COVID, I was actually thinking of going back to judo, just to train, not to do anything, because I missed because I don't see it. If I failed in 20 years, tomorrow I'm going to be successful again with my mentality and the Taiji mentality, the Taiji crowd.
Doesn't click.
Which is all, I don't see it.
Right.
I mean, I would love to, I love teaching. I swear to God, what a joy to, but, if nobody comes, where's the joy? So actually before COVID, I was thinking of going back to judo. I have to do a couple of operations. To get a little more competitive with them. Right. But I don't see how. Nobody likes what I do. Basically, as I see it. I mean, they may like it, but they don't like to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're going to have the same. You're going to have the same ratio. I mean, there are definitely going to be some people that like it and are willing to do it. So I don't know how many that will be, but for sure you'll get some people. So.
In New York are very expensive. You can't get 4 people and pay the price.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, besides the young people now, you got this MMA, you got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, they're the kings right now.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. They have a better product. And they do it better.
Well, they haven't been blocking things either. You see, this is another problem I found with the environment here in China specifically. I remember speaking to a high official because, look, in China, like the way the ministry works is like different sports are under different departments. And the Chinese Wushu Association and that group manages quite a few combat sports, and it's not just Chinese martial arts. And it's quite interesting because I remember years ago, must have been 10 years ago, maybe more, one of the officials told me that Dana White actually came to China to meet with them to start, promoting MMA here and to start getting things going in terms of a league or competitions and whatever. And it was more over 10 years ago. And the guy just told me with a straight face and a giggle, he's like, he just sat there and told Dana White, there's no way we'll allow MMA to begin in China. And it had nothing to do with a problem with MMA. It had to do with they wanted to promote their thing and stop something else. Now, that mentality left China behind. So now they're playing catch up with the rest of the world, where MMA and all of these things are so well developed, and the combat arts here, like, had they taken MMA and introduced it to Sanda athletes maybe 15 years ago, man, I'm telling you, there'd be quite a few champions out of China that were in the UFC today. But because they deliberately blocked it, and it's like they've been left behind. It's really a problem. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're making sense. I agree that there is a problem with this kung fu mentality. That somehow, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answers, obviously.
Yeah. There's a lot of good value in the Chinese martial arts traditional systems. Like I said, this is the point I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that you'll come in here and MMA is going to take over. No, I'm saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a result of taking the Japanese art that was taught to them and then adding ideas and concepts to it to create something over time. Now, Chinese martial arts, there is a rich history of practice of different styles, and I don't like to say, like a lot of people, yeah, that won't work in the ring. No, there's a lot of stuff in each of these systems that have value. And had the opportunity been here, like we were talking earlier about competition and an avenue for some of those skills to come out, maybe they would have come out, and you might have seen a very different development in the influence that Chinese martial arts has on, for example, what we understand in MMA and its curriculum and the way people fight and techniques that are used, etc. But because it was blocked, that opportunity is not there. So, it's sad, but it is what it is. What can we do?
Absolutely. Like you said before, the word you use is perfect. Pressure testing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the thing that's lacking. That's the only thing that's lacking. I got no problem with kung fu and the varieties of what they do, and you don't have to change.
Yeah.
Just pressure test. Just pressure test your art.
Right.
And if it comes, doesn't matter who tests you. Doesn't matter if it's a judo guy, this guy, or that guy, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, UFC guy. It doesn't matter. If you get pressure tested, your art will get better. Look, I think of myself as a Taiji guy. Why? I don't care. Let's say I was younger, I did judo, or I did some karate. I didn't care. I still think of myself as a Taiji guy.
Wow.
I don't want to. I don't want to change. I'm comfortable thinking of myself as a Taiji guy. I'm comfortable. I'm happy with it. Anybody asks me, I do Taiji. I remember the old days when I would do some judo. I would go, because in judo you can go to many schools. Nobody bothers. You pay the $15, and that's it. You pay the mat fee, and it's over.
Right.
And many people say, I'm a Taiji guy. I had no problem saying that.
Yeah.
And they didn't care. They were happy. And if I could show them something, they were happy. And then when I asked, they were happy to show me something. Yeah. There was no problem. Pressure testing. There's no problem with all these Chinese different styles. They're all great.
Yeah. Well, we had you have the same culture in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You can just walk into a gym and say, "Can I join the class today?" Yeah, just sign there, do that, and anybody.
You gotta understand, I'm a little bit before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and because it was so I say judo, because I'm a little bit before that.
Yeah.
But you go, I remember to my friends, let's go to Jersey. We'll go to Jersey, and we'll go to Ionesco School. We would go to Brooklyn. We go to Shina School. Yeah. We would go to Manhattan. We go to Matsumura School. Yeah. You just pay the mat fee. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pay the mat fee, and then you did the class, and you did the randori, and you did the groundwork, and then you go home.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right.
There's no But in Taiji, you can't come to me, I can't come to you. This is secret, this is different. You got the Wu style, you got the Yang style, you got the Chen style.
Right.
And everybody's confused. They're protective, but confused.
Yeah, yeah.
And I agree. Well, it's all great. I got nothing against Chen, Yang. If you pressure test, you're going to get benefits out of it. And you're going to become great. You're going to become good at it. And then you say, I'm a Wu Tai Chi guy. Good for you. I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
I got no problem with any styles. The only problem I got with Tai Chi people is that they don't train, they don't practice, they don't pressure test, and then they get drunk. Because I know about drunk a little bit. They get drunk a little technique that they know, what little games or tricks that they've learned, probably on a superficial level.
Yeah.
But it feels so good, it looks so good, it's like, wow, and they get drunk on that, and then they don't want to do anything else. One, because they think that they're good at that and they're drunk. Two, fear comes into play. Yeah. Because when you tell them, well, once you did this, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's a little fear. But damn, this shit is to put your fear in control, or to at least work with fear, not to be afraid too much of fear, to say, okay, I'm afraid, let me go there.
Right.
Right. But if you don't pressure test, then fear will always win.
For sure.
And has great excuses. My knee, my nose, I didn't sleep well, I got to fight here, I don't know, I got to work, my fingers hurt, fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, I know about fear, man. Because, I've been through it. I know it all. Like I said, I may not know what's ahead of me, but I know what's behind me. All the tricks, all the excuses, all the shortcuts, I tried them all. None of them worked.
Yeah.
None of them. And I know all the excuses.
Very true.
Why? Because I lived them. Because I'm smart.
So now that you're back in the States, I mean, if somebody wanted to learn from you, would you be willing if they contacted you? Is there a way to contact you if somebody's interested in?
Well, no. Right now, I have no way for anybody to contact me unless Facebook, I guess. If they see Mario, hey Mario, but they would have to be young. I don't know if I want to do old people right now.
Uh-huh.
They would have to be young. Well, actually, they would have to be young. I want to do my old way, and I miss it. And like I said, in the last 20 years, I simplified so much.
Right.
I made it easier and easier and easier that I can't do that anymore. So I mean, anybody wants to really train, bring another guy, because you guys they got to beat each other. This is not a you know what I'm saying?
I know what
it's
you
not
mean.
Where you come, like in the kung fu movies, you come and the teacher tells you and you do a form and you become great. No, if you want to come to me, you better have a body to train with and beat each other up nicely, not badly. You know what I mean? Like beat each other up. Judo people beat each other up, and then the next day they go to work. The Brazilian people next day they go to work. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
If you're willing to do that, I love to, but I have no way today for them to contact me at a special place or anything like that.
Well, what we'll do is, I mean, after the show, after the recording, I'll get whatever relevant details you want to be made public, in case anybody wants to contact you, whether they want to email you or whatever you're open to, and you just see how it goes from there. I mean,
email will be good. Email or Facebook. That's all I got, because I have nothing else.
All right. And now that you're back in the States, do you feel that? I mean, what a time to return. You've said you've just been back around 2 years, and it's basically been a year and a half of COVID and election and this insanity and that insanity. Are you regretting going back or not?
It's a long story. That's another issue. So
okay. we won't go into that.
So I'm here because it's a new chapter.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I hope it's a successful chapter. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share. I think it's been really interesting hearing your perspective, your history, which is really important, and your mentality, which I think is equally important. But is there anything else you'd like to cover that we haven't covered?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'm following you. Like I said to you before, I didn't even know I had this in me.
Of course you do. Of course you do. You've got experience, like you said. You know what's behind you, and And it's just a matter of just well, these podcasts are just supposed to be people talking what they want to talk. So
Exactly. Outside of this, I don't have anything else to say. Like I said, since I'm out of Taiji, it's hard to think of certain things. And I don't want to feel I don't like I'm a teacher telling people what to do. Right. The only thing I think I wanted to say was that the pressure testing is, I think, the most important thing that's lacking in Taiji, and I wish Taiji people would do something about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Say.
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you today. It's been a really good discussion. I had a great time. I mean, the time has flown. I can't believe it's already an hour and 45 minutes. I don't want to take up your whole night either. So,
well, good. It's been a long day, I thought. It was a long day today.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll be in touch, and keep well out there. Stay safe.
You take care. You have a good day, man.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.